Any thoughts? And this kind of folds into my next question, which was about the Nets trading Kyrie in any form or fashion, reuniting the OKC Big Three. You ship Kyrie out, you bring back in Westbrook and Harden, and they decide to run it back and win a chip together in a team that maybe will function better than Houston, since Houston has zero flexibility.
Yeah, when I first saw that idea, that was probably the fastest I ever went from this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen to wait a minute, this could make sense. It would be almost impossible to pull off, and it would be kind of a bad look for Brooklyn to just move on from Kyrie that fast, and to make that sort of crazy
Even if
wackiness
internally
happen.
they probably want to. So yes, the pie in the sky OKC Big Three reuniting is reunion is fun, but not going to happen. I personally have said I said this a couple weeks ago with Christian. Maybe even just been last week. The weeks are so long now. The weeks feel like years. Um, that Brooklyn team has so many good young guys. I think if you just put Kyrie on the team that was in the playoffs last year for Brooklyn, sorry, if you just put Durant back on the team that was in the playoffs last year for Brooklyn, that's a really good team with guys like Dinwiddie and Levert really starting to elevate themselves. I feel like you bring Kyrie back, they're gonna like, okay, Kyrie and Durant are gonna have their nights, but the team's just gonna be unhappy. They're gonna look like the 2019 Celtics, and just kind of. I would trade Kyrie in a heartbeat. Or do you think it's actually gonna work there with those guys? Like, I just feel like you already hear enough people in the organization have like not really liked what he's brought to the table.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work with the roster as is. I think they're going to actually do what Danny Ainge was unwilling to do when Kyrie was here. He did not want to trade Brown or Tatum, and that ended up causing a lot of friction because you obviously have two very different timelines. You have a bunch of talented guys who are in their early 20s. They contribute towards winning, but they end up making some some big mistakes in crucial moments, and then you've got guys in their late 20s, early 30s. Al Horford, Gordon Hayward, um, different level of experience. It on paper it looks great talent wise, but then you think about the chemistry and where different people are in their lives and in the locker room, and it just doesn't quite work out that way. So ultimately, I think the relationship between Kyrie and Durant is enough to keep those two together, and I just think they have enough ammo in other areas. Karis LeVert, I think, is a guy who could end up getting flipped for someone like either Drew Holiday or maybe Oladipo, bringing in like a third pseudo star into the mix could really help them. And yeah, I'm not sold on any sort of Kyrie trade just yet. I think it's too early in his contract, and the rest of the league knows that, and the Nets are kind of stuck with him, and he's not our problem anymore, which is
But
fantastic.
do you so unrealistic to happen? But do you think it would be in the Nets' best interest for it to happen? Like I agree. They're probably gonna ship their young guys out. But is that the wrong decision long term for them if they do?
So their GM has done such a great job of rebuilding this team after what we did to them, basically with the Kevin. I mean, I've been like following the Nets, transactions for the past 5 years, just like applauding because they've done such a tremendous job, and then they went out
Yeah.
and I don't want to say ruined it because it just sounds like such a silly thing to say, but it's almost like they went out and ruined it by getting Durant and Kyrie. They obviously didn't. Those are two tremendous players, but as you said, Pez, this was like a very natural, organic team. And when they had D'Lo at point guard, like they kind of just took all that and just threw it out the window. So
Can
I
we
think
can we agree though that the NBA is literally built on stars, right? Like
it
I keep
is.
coming
Yeah.
back to this point. I mean, I understand what you're saying with the team, the camaraderie, the chemistry, everything like that, right? And at the end of the day, you got to pull the trigger on these guys. Like if you have an opportunity to get Kevin Durant and he's willing to come to your team, you don't say no because we have a good young core that's never going to win it.
Yeah.
Durant, yes. Kyrie is just
you're missing the point on
bomb.
Kyrie though. Because it's different between him in the Nets and him on the Celtics. Kevin Durant is the number one option on that team. He's the leader of that team, not Kyrie. Kyrie's going to sit back, and Kyrie is a lot more talented than like Karis LeVert and these guys. I mean, I think that'd be crazy not to say that. And talent trumps everything in that league.
And also, I mean, back in the day, it was all about big threes. I'm noticing this growing trend of duos. Yeah, exactly. So like Kawhi and Paul George saying, hey, we'll go anywhere where you can make it happen, where we're both there. And I think Kyrie and Durant was a similar situation where, yes, obviously you sign Durant no matter what, but I don't think you're able to sign Durant unless you can also get Kyrie and to some extent DeAndre Jordan, who's the kind of the third guy that they wanted on that team. They had to do some totally wacky stuff that I won't get into right now in order to squeeze him into their cap space. So it's, yeah, you can't talk about Durant without Kyrie because they were a package deal essentially. So
yeah, I mean, we know now that they were talking in the All-Star game in that hallway about, we got 2 max slots, right? So they want to play together. If I'm the Nets, I'm not moving on from either of those guys until I see how it goes. Because
I would never move on from Durant.
Guys. Yeah, but Kyrie is part of that deal. If you trade Kyrie right now, what is that going to do for Durant? He's going to pack it in. Are you kidding?
So, but I mean, Matt, you mentioned like Oladipo going there. Like, what does that do? So you package like LeVert away to bring in another guy that is just going to play off the ball and be that Chris Bosh, hey, go sit in the corner while Kyrie and Durant do their thing, shoot like 5 threes a game, that's it. Play defense.
Yeah.
He was an all-star. He was a point guard, talk about percentage of touches. The ball's in your hands every play, and now you're going to go to a situation where you're like the third option who doesn't even get the ball.
Yeah, that would be, it would certainly be a tough fit. That would be, I mean, anytime you have these star players, they kind of have a greater influence over your team's decisions, and moves end up getting made that a GM normally wouldn't make. And we saw that when LeBron was on the Cavs, him just basically going out and getting all the players he wanted to play with in trades that weren't really super beneficial for the Cavs in the long term. I think Drew Holiday would probably be a better fit in Brooklyn because he's
be more of a role player.
Yeah, very selfless player, defender, can play off the ball. If they could get him, that's what they should do. They should flip LeVert, draft picks, get him, probably try to keep Jared Allen at center because I'm not sure how long old DeAndre Jordan is going to hold up as much as Kevin Durant and Kyrie love him there at that slot. So, yeah, I don't know. The Nets are in a weird position. They're in the same position the Celtics were in a couple of years ago. And so it's going to be interesting to see, are they willing to mortgage the future for Kyrie?
Can't we say the Raptors like prove that, right? You mortgage something anyway, right? To get Kawhi for 1 year just to win a championship. And then you're kind of back to what you were, right? I think it's kind of worth it. You take the championship over anything, right?
Yeah, it depends on, because that's the thing. Not every team in the league, believe it or not, is actually interested in winning a championship. A lot of the teams just want to put they just want to put a product on the floor that's going to be profitable, essentially. Luckily for us, the Celtics are not one of those teams. They're trying to win. I think the Nets have made it very clear that they're trying to win. So, I think
they're trying to win the NBA championship, and they're also trying to win the G League championship. So we got the best of both worlds.
Exactly. We got to bring back Taco.